Good evening, everybody, welcome to this round table that actually became a square screen, but yeah, anyway, welcome in the square screen then. I first would like to thank my colleagues for the organization, the panelists, of course, and our moderator, Camilla, our sponsors and partners, Province de Hainaut, Fédération Wallonia-Brussels, la RTBF, La Libre, Google, the Embassy of France, and especially His Excellency, the Ambassador Brandt of Switzerland. Thank you for your support, and I think he's there, so welcome. So this roundtable is the second lecture in the frame of the exhibition Cosmos, Design Beyond, Design from Here and Beyond. In the next months, we will have two important appointments. On February 4, we will host the lecture of Jean-Philippe Uzan about his book L'harmonie secrète de l'univers. This time the topic will be about links between music and astrology. And then on February 18, we will have the conference of Thomas Hertog about his upcoming book on the origin of time. And his conference will be preceded by a performance by Klaas Verpoest, Vincent Cars, Benjamin Glorieux, and the physicist Stéphane de Tournai. It will be an immersive performance, a visual and audio experience. We will experience a black hole. So these are important appointments. But yeah, for now, I don't know if some of you have already visited the exhibition. It's a project that we started together with Thomas, I think more than 3 years ago, with the ambition to show how design participates to the acquisition of knowledge and the construction of collective imagination. Of course, designers are fascinated by the beauty, the elegance of the universe, the celestial objects and the mathematical structure behind this. And so sometimes they translate it in very simple and functional objects like lamps or vases, carpets, and sometimes they translate it into more complex installations about their research project. So the exhibition features 40 projects of designers and artists and is running until February 27. So now it's time for me to leave the square screen and to give the word to Camilla, our moderator. I first have to tell you that during the panel, you can ask your question through the Q&A tag under your screen, and Camilla will select the questions after the discussion. So Camilla is our moderator tonight. She is curator and producer of events that focus on arts and science. Thank you very much, Camilla, and enjoy the discussion.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Marie, for the introduction. Thank you for all of our panelists to be here, and thank you for being there wherever you are. As you can see, we have in this square screen, instead of around the table, 3 exceptional speakers tonight. We're here with Thomas Hertog, who's a Belgian cosmologist and a physicist who studied physics at KU Leuven and then went on for his studies, obtaining a PhD in Cambridge under the supervision of Stephen Hawking, with whom he then collaborated for about 20 years. And he's now a professor at the Institute of Theoretical Physics at KU Leuven, where he heads a research group that is examining and studying the relationship between the Big Bang and string theory. We have Monica Bello, who's a curator and an art historian, and since 2015 she is the curator and the head of arts at CERN, at the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Geneva. At CERN she curates and she led the artistic residency and the new art commission that reflects on the conversation and the exchanges between artists and the particle physicists and engineers, as well as all the staff of the labs that are actually working there. Laura Couto Rosado is a designer that is working internationally at the nexus between design, science, and technology. her practice evolves beyond the classical form of function principle and the solving problem dogma. She moves towards other type of paradigms that are reflecting more on the complexity of things and accelerating social challenges and changes. She's here with us, especially because in 2017 she was a resident at CERN, and she's presenting a piece in the piece that was produced during the residency is presented in the exhibition Cosmos. To kick off the conversation, Sheila, I need to start with a little asterisks about design. This panel, as Marie said, is in the context of an exhibition that is exploring the link between design and astrophysics and the cosmos and the study of the cosmos. Of course, we sort of need to define the premises from where we are beginning or starting this conversation. By talking about design in this specific context, we go beyond the making of objects, and we look at the discipline of design as from a much wider perspective. We look at it as a method of observation and formalization, model of knowledge and creation at the same time. Design as drawing to delimit, to create surfaces and to connect, to trace and describe. This is more or less what we could paraphrase from what Annelise Renon wrote in her book Design and Science, but also design as an inquisitive methodology, a tool for speculative thinking and for understanding, questioning, and disseminating knowledge itself. Starting from this way of meaning the word design and the domain, my very first question is for Thomas. Thomas, you're a scientist by training, but you're definitely not the kind of one that shies away from any occasion of exchange with practices that are more common to the arts and the design field. I'm thinking of your experiences with dance, with Andresa de Kersmaker. You mixed with theater makers, you explored music, and of course now exhibition. Can you give a little bit of a context for the Cosmos exhibition, starting a bit with the basics? What do we mean by the cosmos? What is cosmology? And what is the logic behind the structure of the exhibition in the chapters, how they are anchored in the architecture of cosmology?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Camilla, and good evening, everyone. Yes, so I co-curated, or I helped Marie out with this exhibition on the cosmos. Now, yeah, what is the cosmos, you ask? Well, all there is, right? Which is a lot. But the exhibition, I view the exhibition as a journey on two fronts, really. Of course, when we think about the cosmos, we can go further and further away from the Earth. It's a journey through space, where we first discover our solar system, the moon, the planets, the meteorites, everything we see around us in the solar system. But soon the exhibition takes us further afield into the Milky Way, where we have stars and supernova explosions, where we have important exoplanets, planets that orbit around other stars, and even the Milky Way is just our cosmic city, so to speak, right? We can go out of the Milky Way to other galaxies eventually and explore the entire universe. Maybe some of you have heard about the recent launch of the James Webb Space Telescope. The James Webb Space Telescope is designed to look for the furthest galaxies ever. So the very first galaxies which formed after the Big Bang. So it's a journey through space. And that journey goes from the familiar objects, which we can see with the naked eye, to very remote, almost invisible corners of the universe. And along the way, the journey gets a little more abstract, as you could just see, in fact. Because in order to really grasp that journey, at some point, you reach corners of the universe which are really bizarre and exotic, right? Like black holes, and ultimately our furthest horizon is the Big Bang itself. The journey through space is also a journey through time, because the further we look into space, the further back we look into time. Eventually, we look back into deep time, because the light from these very, very distant galaxies takes billions and billions of years to reach us. So it's a journey on many fronts. It's a journey through space, but it's also a journey back in time. And perhaps even more fundamentally, it's a journey into the sort of deeper questions, or the deeper unity of nature. Ultimately, the Big Bang teaches us that the macroscopic and the microscopic world are deeply connected. And so it's a journey of wonder and how it all hangs together. And so the science, or the cosmos, or the modern cosmology, or modern understanding of the universe is just there to give an open space for designers to let free their creativity. That's, in my view, the spirit of this exhibition. We're not so much trying to convey specific knowledge. We're offering a platform for wonder, creativity, exploration around for designers to explore that cosmos. I design theories in my daily life, theories about the Big Bang. And here in the exhibition, we have a completely different realm of design. And the two worlds kind of meet in the middle.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Thomas. That was very illuminating about the exhibition. Unfortunately, we didn't have the chance to visit before the panel talk. But now my next question, I'm going to pass the floor to Monica Bello. I would like to ask you, Monica, to quickly present the program of artistic residency at CERN. Which we all know, I mean, it's a program that over the years had an immense success and is still leading the way. So could you please tell us a bit more about it, and also a bit of insight on why, in your opinion, this program is having so much success?
Thank you, Camilla. I think Thomas gave us a good introduction of the vision behind these programs, in which, well, I'm glad to hear that we are leading. I have the feeling that we are as well, but I also like to think that is a universal interest. It's something that any laboratory could be doing at the moment. But of course, CERN is the largest laboratory in the world. So I'm going to explain what we do in this very singular environment. So let me share a very formal presentation, but I think it's important for you to see, what we have done and a few images. So CERN is, as I said a minute ago, and you introduced us, is the European Laboratory for Particle Physics. Is the largest laboratory in the world. There is around 15,000 people working there. Is focusing in the subatomic matter, looking into matter and the fundamental constituents of matter, what makes everything. So while Thomas says that the cosmos, everything, matter is everything as well, is what forms the cosmos, and we are matter as well. So matter is a really fundamental aspect of everything we see and we do, and the reason why we see this being explored at the laboratory. At CERN, there is a common principle or a focus that everyone has, is, and this question is, what is the universe? What is the universe made of? How everything became together after the Big Bang, even before or later, at the ends of the time. So there are many people developing experiments. It's a highly experimental focus environment. And then we have a theory department as well. The theory corridor is the smallest in the laboratory, but very influential to the artist. So it's not it's not rare to think that today, with a huge focus on scientific knowledge and technology, artists are approaching and are knocking in the laboratory's doors to try to investigate and to expand their view into the world. And this is what we do. We provide the tools for doing that, for responding the questions, or to try to massage this curiosity, this journey that Thomas expressed. The sense of wonder that we have at the moment is different to any other era before, I think, because it's highly focused in technology and the experimentation, exploration, observation, how we observe, how we see, how we picture our world is different now. And I think artists are looking for this language, this way of thinking differently. And it's true that for many years, science has been a bit apart from the culture and not seeing itself as culture. So we, in our work, we end up thinking every day how science is a huge pillar of our culture. And this is one of the big reasons why we do this. So 10 years ago, the arts program was set up. Ariane Coeg was the first head of arts at CERN, and at that time, Rolf Hoyer, the director general, visionary, thought that was a good idea to have an artistic residency program. And we began with a program called Collide, which is still going on. And this was the main residency and the focus at the moment. Since 2015, my efforts were to move into another areas, always hand by hand with institutions worldwide who wanted to join us in this journey of making the lab more open to creative communities and to explore other territories of thinking about the universe, which is not only mainly science, but of course with scientists as our ambassadors and our scientific partners, in a way, our knowledge partners in this new venture that artists were getting into. So today we are not an artistic residency program. We moved from there since 2015 when I arrived to the lab, because one of the big questions when I was there after a few years, the program was running for 4 years already, 4 or 5, and the scientists started to say, hey, what happens when the artists leave the lab? So I said, okay, this is the moment when we think about audience, and our community is our audience, as well as the people who are really dealing with these questions, managing a new language for art within the scientific laboratory and the community. So today we have artistic residencies, and they are very successful. The reach is huge, and it's almost overwhelming because the participation is getting bigger and bigger every year. Then when the artists are with us, a number of artists are supported with our commissions. We love to support all of them, but we have limited resources and time and team, well, anything you can imagine. So, but we do our commissions, at least 2 per year. And since 2018, we had the chance to do more because there were museums involved in doing exhibitions with us. So there is a new strand called exhibitions and events, which we don't get full on doing everything, but we do co-organize and co-curate exhibitions, and also we advise and support cultural and art centers in understanding what is there, what the artists are doing. We often get involved in education and public events, as we are doing today, in the context of this amazing exhibition that I'm missing, and I'm very disappointed by the fact that I cannot visit it. And so the residencies are still our big pillar. Our focus is research. So what we offer to the artist is not, the common stereotype or cliche of, hey, let's collaborate with an artist and a scientist collaborating. Collaboration is a big word for me, and I'm very cautious about this. I think what happens in the lab is the artist gets informed. It's like speed training on physics, because it's so difficult to understand many of the terms. So it's just going there and explore and jump in this huge adventure, and then go deeper and deeper in the research. But as Laura will say later, every residency is different. So if Laura comes with a proposal from her own practice, we help Laura or any other artist to develop this proposal. Our resources are limited, but also they are great because we have so many people involved and so many experiments. So there is, as I said, 15,000 people at the lab. There are more than 300 buildings, 60 different experiments, more experiments emerging every time, and a very, very creative community. So it's a really exciting place to be, and you can really choose from many different topics. So Collide, Accelerate, and Connect are our research-led residencies, and each of them are very similar, but with different aspects depending on the participation. So there are commissions and exhibitions are there, they are running. We had a very successful touring exhibition called Quantica, going to different countries, and with a massive reach, a big experiment for us as well. We joined with different institutions in Europe do it together, and it was really positive experience. Then we have some of the works that are in the exhibition in Cosmos, or the exhibition that Thomas has curated as well in Leuven with Hannah Rödel, have hosted some of the works that we produce or co-produce, like Halo editions and made by Semiconductor. And then we do events, and these are 2 events that are happening in the next few weeks or few months, because we think it's very important to keep our eyes very open, because things are happening and we don't have a way to phrase them yet. So when we talk about art, design, and science, what we talk about is something new. There are many voices, many angles, and we want to capture what is happening right now in the artist studios and in the laboratories, connecting these 2 worlds, or these multiple angles together. We have also joined recently this amazing project called Yet It Moves. Is with a great curator from Copenhagen, Irene, and the Copenhagen Contemporary Center, and this is about public space, art commissions, and it's going to be revealed. More details will be revealed soon. So there are many things going on, because this is a great opportunity to support artists and scientists to bring their preoccupations together and to expand the way we look into the world, and we explore the world. So some feedback from our community, and of course this is just a very personal approach to the connection with artists in the lab environment. Chiara Mariotti, Alessandra Necchi, and Reyes Alemani are very close to what we do, always supporting, but they are up to 400 scientists getting involved in different degrees in our programs. So it's thanks to them. They give sense to our work, and they support the artists. So I'm going to leave it here, because it's been
Thank you, Monica.
7 minutes now.
Thanks. So we have quite a context, a background now regarding the Arts CERN programs, and I'm going to pass leave the floor to Laura Couto Rosado, who in 2017 has been at CERN for 3 months for our residency. And as I was saying earlier, her project, her artwork, Quantum Nuggets, is exhibited in Cosmos at the Grand-Hornu, ainsi here in Belgium. Laura?
Hi, hello. First of all, thank you very much for this invitation. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you now. And I propose to go through and to share my screen in order to talk to you about the residency I made in 2017, and also to talk about Quantum Nuggets. So I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Great. So just need to start and play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, great. So let's go. Let's have a quick travel and quick journey at CERN with me. So yes, when I started as designer, you can imagine how that it is not so easy, you know, to understand something as you're not a particle physicist and you don't really know about, you know, science and mathematical language. So you had, you know, to find ways to maybe to try to understand or to feel something about the research that is going on there about the origin of matter and the universe. So for me, the key was to visit a lot of experiments because it was fascinating, but also it helped me through the observation and the visit of the equipment, the scientific equipment, to grasp something indeed. So you can imagine, how exciting it was, to dive in, this bunch, of exotic machines and architectural instruments with a lot of cables, and it gives you an idea of the massive data that are produced there in order to understand a little bit about particle physics research. And also, from my perspective, the way to look at this kind of equipment helped me to feel and to understand a little bit about the phenomena that the scientists they are trying to study and to investigate. And to give you an example, here we are in the ELINA experiment that is in the antimatter factory, and this is this photo you see with this installation that has the shape of an hexagonal sail is a decelerator. Usually when you accelerate particles, you use accelerators. Accelerators, they are kind of circular installation that help you to accelerate particles before collision. And here you can see that is an hexagonal sail. So the angle of the installations help you to understand that it is not for acceleration, but for deceleration. So just by the shape and the form of the equipment, you can understand a little bit of something about phenomena that are happening, in front of you. So, and also, yes, so I spend a little bit of my time to make some pictures and to understand a bit more about, these machines and why they build these instruments, how they use them in order to record and to record phenomena, to get the data and analyze the data according to the principle of particle physics, and understand more about this quantum and particle physics phenomena, and learn more about the universal knowledge about the quantum physics scale. So, but also I noticed that not only this equipment are functional and help me to understand a little bit, about the fundamental scientific lab, but also they have something that is aesthetical as well. They could be, they have something that is maybe belongs to sculpture, or they have definitely aesthetical properties. So it was also interesting, to be in front of these pure mechanical and functional pieces that are used only, for fundamental science, but as well, for me, they have another also, you can look at them differently, and you realize that are also part, as you said before, Monica, at the cultural domain. Science is also culture. So, and it is inspiring, and yeah, so, I was diving there and really, I was looking at this equipment. It really helped me during this journey to go and to start this process, this creative process that ended to the quantum nuggets. And yes, just, to go, yes, to locate, my focus on the project. I met a particle physicist, Jeremy Nietzela. Jeremy Nietzela, he was working to one of the detector lab. So you have the Large Hadron Collider Okay, it's the Large Hadron, the big accelerator that accelerates the particles for the collisions. And you have 4 main detectors that are there, you know, during the collisions to record the collision data. So I was working with I was collaborating with Jeremy, and Jeremy was working at Alice, such a beautiful name for an experiment. And we had a match, we had a really nice conversation. It was easy for me to understand his research. He shared his methodology, how he used the data recorded by Alice, and then the projection of data that are processed by the data center, how he can he have the data back, and how he used them to create plots or to create programs, kind of simulator that help him to analyze, the particle collision, but after, in order to understand if he missed something, or maybe, he had time to watch that something happened and he didn't see, and thanks to that he can discover new particles, understand more about quantum phenomena. So I was very inspired by his methodology, and I just started to take this this methodology, and I apply it to my design process. Sorry. So yes, you can have here an idea of data they can get. So this is kind of different kind of data they have from a particle collision. He explained me some of them. I was not, but the purpose was not for me to understand all of them, but I understand just a part, specifically the F momentum of the particles, is when you have this coordinate that help you to understand where is going a particle just after a collision, and if during the decay or the birth of this particle. So thanks to this, the explanation of this data, I use that to create in a program, just kind of a basic program with the creative coding that allow me to visualize this data that are used, for his own investigation. But the idea for me was to visualize something that is beyond my own imagination, something that I will not be able one day to truly see with my own eyes, because it is not from the same scale, and I don't have, the organic sensors, to catch and to shoot that, like these detectors. But as designer, I really wanted to make it more close to us, because it's part of our contemporary physics. So thanks to that, I bring, it, and I wanted to make it, make it real and tangible, for example, on a table, or I don't know, in your house, like have something, from quantum phenomena, but there, just there. So here we are. So you can see here that we have the outcome of all, these resources, scientific resources I was allowed, to use. So you can see that, I was able to visualize, and we have here a true visualization of this data coming from the Alice experiments. And at the end, I managed not only to visualize it in 2 dimensions, but to export a 3D file that allow me to print it in 3D and make it, like an artifact, a sculpture, a tangible object that is a real materialization, but, with parameters, of course, from a point of view from a detector, but it is coming from something that is quite literal, and this ornamental, this ornamental piece is indeed a sample or an example of materialization of fundamental science lead at CERN for quantum physics research. Yes, that's it. And you can see these quantum nuggets exhibited at Cosmos currently now in your exhibition, and you can see it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, Laura. We need to speed up a little bit the conversation. So I'm gonna jump straight in with a question for all three of our panelists. We nowadays, thanks to the discoveries such as general relativity and quantum theory, we came to observe that the macroscopic and the microscopic in the universe do not really follow the same rules. They do not behave according to the same laws. But these laws, these discoveries, they are two huge elements that are trying to be, the scientists around the world are trying to reconciliate. And it's a huge challenge in cosmology, as in physics, but also in mathematics nowadays. These two elements are just two parts of a complex system that is composed also by us. And by us, I mean life, intelligent life in general. What is your take on that? I know that Thomas has an opinion about it. It's an important axe of your work. So please.
Well, that's a big question, right? What should I say? Well, look, we are inside the universe and looking up and out, right? That's most people will agree on that. So this means that we and our theories and our explorations are never going to be fully decoupled from our perspective. The question is, how does it all hang together? How does the macro world, the micro world, and us looking, us observing, us experimenting, hang together? I think it touches a little bit on, I think it was Monica who said this earlier. What did you say, Monica? That science has not always considered itself part of culture. Mm-hmm. You see, I think it touches on that point. Physics has prided itself on developing what you could say is a sort of objective view of the world, pure mathematical laws which are universal. There's nothing in these laws that refers to us. And so the idea grew in the 20th century that science, earlier in fact, that science is about discovering absolute truth. And I think with especially with cosmology, in fact, but also with the quantum theory that Monica mentioned, these two theories towards the end of the 20th century broke down that idea that there is something like an absolute law above the universe or whatever, wherever it is, and assigned a very subtle and very difficult to understand role of our, I dare say, subjectivity. And how this whole hangs together is a very difficult question in physics, of course, but it's also a very fertile ground to explore precisely through a science, arts, design interface. Anyway, these are just some thoughts. My 2 cents.
Monica, you're surrounded by research and scientists and artists alike. So what's your take on that?
Well,
I saw you smiling and nodding. So
I think your question was, very broad. So I'm not going to there to answer it. But you know, when I'm there listening to what the artist ask the scientist, then I ask myself as well some questions, and a very nice way to start a conversation is to ask some of our colleagues at CERN what are the mysteries, what are the boundaries in our knowledge. I know they don't see humans in their research. I think it was clear to me from the beginning that humans, they are too messy, but it's really interesting to try to structure this knowledge that they try to get. And so recently I asked Wolfgang Lerche, a theorist in the theory department, what was the boundary we had? What is the border? We don't see through that. And he said complexity, of course, consciousness, subjectivity, the brain, cosmology, and particle physics. I mean, it's as clear as this. So it's a matter of scales. We don't see through, through the dark. We don't see in the dark. There are many dark spots in our knowledge. And when you are at CERN, you enjoy very much to dream about these mysteries that are still there, because it feels like, people are thinking of that. And I'm sure they are thinking of that 24 hours of their time, because I mean, we are humans. But when you are an artist and you are not a scientist at CERN, you can dream of going further in your view of the world, and this is very magical, I think. And then you go back to your studio and you create amazing things to convey the experience of this knowledge, as Laura did with the quantum nuggets. So I don't know if this answers your question, Camilla, but it's me just wondering.
I mean, it would be absolutely groundbreaking if we would find the answer to this type of question in this panel here this evening. So, but I think it's still very interesting to have your take on this thing, you know, the human perspective, this thing that every time that we perform a whatever experiment, we somehow, as observer, have an impact on it, you know, and there is this pretended neutrality and absolute that is in a gray zone. No? It's a gray zone. So I'm going to skip up a bit and I'm going to jump to something that has been touched upon already by you, Monica and Thomas, but also from Laura. There is you talked about culture and about the fact that science did not recognize itself as part of culture. I mean, we know that historically it hasn't been the case. We know that Charles Percy Snow started formalizing a very famous critique of what he called the two cultures, the humanistic and artistic and versus the scientific culture. Yet these this arbitrary separation is not truly representative of how things really happen in day-to-day life, both for artists and for scientists and researchers. So there is a lot of talking about observation, intuition, and creativity. So what is there is a lot of common ground between I would like to avoid saying scientific practice, scientific methodology as if there was only one, and artistic practice as if there was only one, but to simplify these two big main things that are seen as so unrelated, so far away. One, the domain of rationality and calculus, and all think that's well and squared, and the other one, a fluffy pink cloud in which we can be free and imagine and be creative. All of you, please. That's
I think you are talking about the question of methodologies, right?
In a way.
Yeah, I think, or the tools that are used. I think it's not uncommon to think about art and to think about science in the abstraction. So yeah, it's an activity that happens in the brain, and you think, and you, yeah. But I think scientists and artists, or at least the ones I work with, they are makers. They do stuff with their hands, and they break things, and they try to figure how the things work. And this is, yeah, it's not a trivial question. So yeah, making things. And try to understand what is inside the things, but not the abstraction. What is inside this piece of wood or any matter is very common to, it's a commonality of artists and scientists. And when you go to a laboratory like CERN, where people are building decelerators like Elena, the machine that Laura shown, and they are just using cables and stuff and gases and just normal stuff, probably much more expensive than the stuff you use at home. But they are just gadgeting. They are creating objects that make things later. And this is science, and this is art as well. So you need a massive degree of creativity and craftsmanship. So you need to be a good designer as well. So everything is, goes through these processes of making.
But also wondering and doubting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not knowing. Isn't that a characteristic which is shared by science and art? I mean, most people at CERN, most scientists at CERN, it starts with doubt. It starts with questions and wonder, and science shapes these questions in one way, and art takes often those same questions and does something else with it. And in that sense, I think there's a common undercurrent to science and arts that could be the source of an interesting dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
A dialogue rather than a collaboration. I agree, collaboration somehow doesn't sound like the right word here.
There is much in scientific big discoveries of the past century that was predicted, that was imagined before being proven, before being seen. And the technological development of the past 20-30 years gave quite a push to research, to cosmology especially, but many of the things were already there. Someone about 100 years ago, if not more, imagined them without having any tool or anything to actually see and observe.
That's the magic of the theory division at CERN. Yeah.
It's a matter of energy. Is I mean, you cannot go further.
Yes, yes, of course.
Energy is the barrier. I had a really interesting, after work lunch once with a bunch of scientists, and then one was really worried. Energy is the barrier. We cannot go beyond. And became very funny and was a kind of a gag, but it's true. It's an energy,
At the same time, at the same time, it's the magic of theoretical physics that with mathematics, somehow, rather mysteriously, we managed to go to a realm of thought which otherwise you would never come up with. So there's a magic side to that.
What kind of energy do you need to put to get to the level of being there, Thomas? I mean, I'm just teasing you, but yeah.
Well, look at those gravitational waves.
Mm-hmm.
That took 100 years to detect, and those were predicted to exist 100 years ago. Of course, there's a bit of a funny situation. Yes, energy is a limitation on Earth and for CERN. But then on the other hand, we live, if you take a cosmological perspective, we live right inside the debris of the biggest high energy experiment ever, which was the Big Bang. We are part of the sort of particles escaping on the background of Laura's screen, right? So that is a strange affair.
Yes, and just to share, when I was experiencing this journey at CERN, and I was discussing with Jeremy, I was fascinating with him because, you know, he really tried through his research to simply understand about, you know, what is matter and what is the origin of everything, indeed, you know, through his specific research. And yes, just I realized that he was really conducted by, you know, this fundamental and simple question about us, about planets, cosmos, matter, and the fundamental understanding of that. And from my perspective, you know, it was so, you know, it is enriching, you know, and for me, I felt that I don't share the same purpose as him, as I'm not a scientist, but in a way I share, you know, I share the true or I share, you know, the discovery, you know, he's doing about, you know, this fundamental question from my point of view. So this is through this discussion is a question of finding, you know, the elements of truth about, you know, everything about the origin of matter and how you share it indeed in a larger audience to everyone, you know, and make it, you know, tangible to anyone. So yes, I would say through this dialogue, maybe artists and scientists, they are in this looking at this I don't know, perspective.
Well, this somehow it's 9 p.m. So we are going to. I'm just going to pass on some of the questions that have been asked by our audience, and there is one that it's going in this direction, asking. How can the arts allows for a better acknowledgement of the universe? So how can the arts help somehow popularizing sciences, if they can, if it's their mission? Is it the case they do so? Tricky question.
Yes, because I don't like this word of popularizing. I'm not sure that it is the right way to talk about that. Maybe it's to, you know, it's just to, I don't know, but you know, if I take, you know, the work I did, the quantum nuggets, it's more than that in the way that I just took, you know, one element of a particle physics research from one scientist, and I use it, you know, to develop a creative project. So, and is it really to popularize, you know, quantum physics and particle physics? I'm not sure that is the purpose. Maybe it helps But it is not only that, it's much more, wider, and it's open more question about, creative methodology, design process, because of course I'm talking about, my point of view, that is the design field.
Mhm.
So for me, it was a really, really disrupting, because, it pushed me, to invent and to create, a creative process that is really different, from the kind of project I did before, because I was dealing, with phenomena that was so tremendous,
Yeah.
and it, it pushed me, to set up a new methodology in my own design process. It was really, kind of a big shift. And I'm still using, this creative process now for my new works. So it was really a moment, when I was, when I did this residency at CERN. So in my own, experience and my own career, it was very, very important, because yeah, it pushed also the field to reinvent, to enrich, to yes, I don't know if I'm answering this question, if you but yes, so indeed this is much more than popularizing, science through creative or art or design. It is
No, I think this is an important point. Because if you say it's popularizing, then you're essentially saying that the art is just there to illustrate the science, which is clearly not the case. It's much more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the way that I see this is that, on the other hand, you make it very clear that there's a crucial source of information in that scientific environment and context and data which sourced your work. So the way that I see it is that there's this giant open space between science and arts, which is there to explore. And ultimately, new discoveries can emerge from that space. And maybe we should think about the science-arts dialogue neither as art and neither as science, but something open, something to be explored and to be defined. Mm-hmm. And I think that also answers the question which you can turn upside down. What's in there for science? Surely many engineers and scientists must have asked this at CERN to Monica, what's in there for us? And the role, I think, of these kind of programs is to take science and its knowledge out of its purely disciplinary, objective, say, context, and make these come alive in the broader societal issue. And that's the whole process. That's on the very, very long term crucial for scientific progress, because it's ultimately a human endeavor. If society and science no longer understand each other, then that's the end of the game.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think, but then maybe to add to that, which is clear to me that, we are not talking about the communication of science or popularization of some sort of knowledge. I always, have in mind what Roger Malina says about having an intimate experience with scientific facts and knowledge. Unless you experience what other disciplines are doing or are trying to do, you have dark spaces in your knowledge, shadows, and I don't think artists allow themselves to have that. I mean, you as an artist, a designer, a scientist, your job is to be super curious, and also to open inquiries all the time to
well, you see, but the scientists have equally many problems to be curious, but nature challenges us, and that's a very it's a big help, and it has been like that for thousands of years. In fact, if you look at the 2 centuries the 15th and the 16th century, it took 2 centuries just to figure out the solar system. So just the movements of the planets were challenging mankind so much that it completely revolutionized our conception of the world. But you needed these 6 trajectories across the sky as a challenge. And it's the same today, right? It's the same with the particle collisions or with the cosmic data or whatever. Nature is an endless source of challenges, and that's what sparks the curiosity. So scientists, in a sense.
Yeah, Fabiola Gianotti, our Director General, used this expression when the Higgs boson was discovered. She said, nature was kind to us. Nature was generous to us. And I always wonder why we express things this way, but it's true that it's another way to say what you just said. It's the challenge of discovering things out, and yeah. But then again, you have experimentation, you have experiments, you have to build tools and to gadget. Because yeah, think of Leonardo doing this taxidermia and these anatomical drawings. And it took how many centuries? 4 centuries to understand the body in this way. He was hiding these drawings, was not his formal approach. Was not legitimate, was a secret. And then, yeah, this knowledge was there, hidden. So this is very important to open channels for accepting and the experience of knowledge.
Right, but that is where programs like yours come in, right? You have to keep feeding that science society cycle and enriching it and nurturing it, because otherwise the wheel stops, I think. Imagine scientific facts like in today's society, imagine it gets worse and science is questioned even more. And its way of experimenting and this and that. Then at some point in 10 years, if CERN asks for a bigger accelerator and the broader society doesn't want it anymore, it's not going to happen. So in fact, I think it's a crucial part of the cycle, which we have long forgotten, in fact, that outside the disciplinary work of science, there's this much broader tissue which must be nurtured constantly. That's, I think, also one way of saying science is part of our culture.
Yeah.
And of course, it's very clear also why we forgot this in the case of physics. We forgot this in the case of physics after the Second World War, where science had become physics, nuclear physics had become part of geopolitics. And so it stood for a few decades above culture, but that is not the way in the bigger picture it sort of works. Yeah. And sorry.
We could go on all night talking about the presume or not presume neutrality of sciences and never end. I'm going to present you with another question, which is quite a structured one, two-folded. So according to some philosophers of science and physicists, for example, Etienne Klein, for instance, all branches of sciences do not share similar purposes regarding individual and societies. To make it short, to sum up, some of them would mainly aim to help humankind solve concrete problems, while the other branches are ultimately there to understand who we are, answer the big question, make us dream, and open up new possible worlds. So the two-folded question comes as it follows. In comparison with other sciences, for example, psychology, engineering, etc., would you agree that cosmology or particle physics mostly belong, at least for as of today, to the second category, so make us dream, etc.? And as a consequence, do you think that some sciences are more keen to discuss and play with design and the arts than others? Bam. That's it.
Well, Monica mentioned the theorists at CERN. So why are the theorists more involved, Monica?
Yeah,
More involved in the arts program.
I think you mentioned it, yes, that the theory division is particularly involved in your program.
Yes, it is.
It is because theorists have more time, or?
Maybe. They have more coffees.
Yes, we design our theories over coffee, that's true.
No, I think it's because potentially, I don't know if I'm correct saying this. I think the assumption is that physics is quantum physics. It's the dream of the quantum physics and these endless metaphors that gives to the arts. Also, there are many theoretical concepts that are very rich for the artist. And then the experiments are not I mean, you cannot go to an experiment at CERN and do stuff. You can work with scintillators, maybe with other materials, but with the tough, complex technology is something difficult for the artist. So I guess this this stops many people to intervene in the experiments. But this is not about the question. I think this question is too complex. I think it's a statement.
The question.
I think we can have a conference on it.
Let's organize another one.
Yes, but just I like this question. I think it's interesting because it's I don't know, there is kind of opposition that is indeed maybe not an opposition. We want to oppose like fundamental science with applied science indeed. Mm-hmm. But they are really related and connected, and one needs the other to continue and to develop and to grow and to learn. For example, we have this amazing example at CERN about the www protocol, the internet protocol that was invented at CERN. Mm-hmm. It is thanks to that we are also today talking together at this panel tonight. It shows how fundamental science pushes the boundaries of everything and of knowledge and to understand nature, and it pushed to invent new technologies that are very disruptive and very revolutionary for society, like the internet protocol. In the past, they used it and they invented in order to share the knowledge, to understand more about quantum physics at this period. So if we summarize, it's thanks to trying to understand fundamental questions about nature and specifically about particle physics that we invent the internet protocol. Internet protocol is now applied for society to allow people in the world to communicate together. So which one is in the second category? Is it internet protocol, or is it what is behind this applied technology?
Yeah.
Okay, good point. But this is in fact crucial, right? Every application has its roots in fundamental curiosity-driven science decades earlier.
Exactly.
You should know that the quantum theory in the 1920s was complete esoteric, theoretical, wild science, right? And even the guy who discovered the electron at the end of his paper, so he discovered basically electricity, right? Mm-hmm. At the end, in the 19th century, then at the end of his paper, he writes, but obviously, this is never going to have a practical application. There you go. Electricity. This is very interesting. We cannot know what comes out. So, but I think maybe the theorists there's another part of this question, right?
Yes, if there is some science are more keen to discuss and play with design in the arts than the other.
yeah, you see that as Monica was saying, the theorists and they're more on the frontier in terms of ideas, right? I had some interaction in the exhibition that I organized in Leuven with Hannah, with Susie Treester, who had a residence at CERN, and she made an artwork on holography, so the whole world as a hologram. This is really, really advanced, speculative, hypothetical physics, but she totally hooked up on it and had her own ideas on holography, which was a lot of fun.
But hang on there, Susan Treester, and this is when we enter in this terrain of less structured terrain. I think Susan Treester is very talented and has an ability to bring people to do things that they didn't dream before. So when she brings 4 or 5 theorists to paint their theories in watercolors, this is almost impossible, and she did it in 2 weeks. And,
yes,
and there were many teasing and trying and destroying the paper, starting again. This is not perfect. This is how, many doubts, failing, and Susan kept insisting and discussing with them her own theory, and this is the dream of the artist. This is when artists and scientists look at each other's eyes and say, "Hey, you are as crazy as I am," looking for very difficult answers all the time. And I thought it was a really amazing project, this one with Susan. But Susan, of course, has so many. Yeah, she is very knowledgeable, and she is really special. But then again, going back into this theoretical physicists or experimental physicists, I think experimental physicists are very curious as well and very much involved. They have different ways to organize their work. So they work on shifts, many of them, and so they are on the experiments. But I had a few of them coming to approaching us to work with the artist and saying that they wanted to understand why the artists were seeking knowledge, why the artists how they did it, because for them it was still a mystery to understand why they themselves were so insistent and persist on looking for answers in places that were very difficult. So I think it's about understanding this internal force that one has about trying to understand the world, and you have that in experiments as well as in theory.
Okay. One more question for the 3 of you coming from the audience. Since the panel has 3 specialists on imagination in their field, I was wondering if they see a big difference in the imagination used by scientists and in the arts or not. And building on that, what do they think of the state of imagination in terms of looking for new ideas, imagining new stories, understanding and explaining possibilities in the other fields of society? So is there such thing, a different type of imagination, or they are simply articulated in different ways? Another not easy one.
I think this is for Thomas.
Yeah, we have a challenging audience this evening.
I was going to say, this is one for Laura.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's true. When I was spending my time with Jeremy, and I was, looking at him and how he's investigating in his research, I was surprised because he was very intuitive, he used his intuition in order, to to maybe kind of make research or maybe modify, you know, parameters of the machine, or analyzing, you know, the plots in a different way, you know, because he felt that there might be something interesting, you know, if he modify kind of parameters, you know, in his research. So maybe I would say that we are using the same, you know, we are the same, you know, it's not because we are, you know, involved in different disciplines that we are not using, you know, the same, our senses, you know, we have the same sensors, you know, we have eyes, we have feelings, you know, and we use it maybe in a different way, but at the start they are the same somehow, you know. But just to go back to the question, it was terrible for me to meet theoricists at CERN. Very difficult for me, very, very difficult to meet theoricists, you know. It was like taking a trip, you know, when they start to talk to you about, you know, their theory, it was like, oh my God, it is like a fairy tale. He's telling some, you know, like something that is surrealistic, because, you know, and it was very difficult for me to get through this kind of meetings. You know, it was much more easier for me to visit and to meet a particular physicist in experiments, because it was easier for me, you know, to do something from my perspective than doing something with theoricists at CERN. Yes.
Okay.
Laura, you had for a moment this research on the shielding materials, right? So during your residency, you look into the shielding and where these materials came from, right?
I'm not sure I understand. The shield, which shielding material?
The shielding blocks that were.
Yes, the architectural.
Yeah, at the beginning of your residency, you were looking at these huge objects that are keeping the radiation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
From coming to outside and being harmed. Yeah. So you were looking at these objects, what made the buildings and the experiments. So you had this eye, right? That was very interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not surprised you had a hard time in the theory. you was more enjoying the landscape and the experiments and navigating and going through
yes
right?
because because everything at CERN is made because of, you know, related to particle physics phenomena, everything, even architecture. So, and also things that you don't see, like radiation during experiments. So the way they build, you know, the labs, they construct the installation, and how, you know, it's like a Tetris or Lego with concrete blocks in order to protect scientist team during experiments and radiation. So it's a whole, you know, language and topology in the architectural scale. You can, you know, I can build my house, you know, thanks to the architectural recommendation at CERN. You know, it's like it's amazing. You know, you can really take a lot of things, you know, and you can just, you know, drift it, you know, to your life and bring a quantum house, you know, with the radiation rules, you know. So yes, it's tremendous.
Okay, we are going for very, very last question before leaving terminating this panel talk. And we are going to I'm going to ask you, pass on this question about what connection might there be between accrochez-vous, between intuition and knowledge, science, art, and curiosity. Is there such a thing as a link between these, or are they spontaneous, or are they trained? I'm adding this last part. It's not part of the original question.
I would say it's thanks to intuition that you increase knowledge, or you find good ways to to knowledge. I don't know. And science, art, and curiosity, wonder. I mean, after that, it's what it's your, as you said, Monica, your intimate experience about science, or kind of transcendental experience you have in aesthetical and art. I don't know. It's like yes, for me, the second part of the question is more about the experience itself, about wonder. What is the wonder in art and in science? Wonder is how you experience it, no? I don't know. Just trying to get through the question.
Madu, do you have a comment on that, about creativity and imagination and knowledge from your perspective?
The question is for me, or
by whoever if you want.
Ah, okay.
Or for Thomas.
Ah, Thomas. Okay, go ahead.
Hello. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I think these different things, if very fundamentally, isn't the collection of those things you mentioned, isn't that what it means to be human?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Monica, a last comment on this?
Perhaps we're ultimately trying to figure out who we are.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to be pragmatic. So knowledge and science.
Quite an effort.
I mean, I think a part of my job is to claim the space of the artist in the world. So to say, hey, these people who are coming here anywhere, not only at CERN, who to whom I'm supporting, and I believe in what they do. They are professionals. They've been doing this. They know what they are doing. They have their tools. They have the environment. They are what it comes out. The outputs can be unpredictable, but there is a plan behind. And this is, yeah. And they use intuition. They use curiosity, wonder, all this spirit of wondering about anything, the world, anything, themselves. Is very important, but it's based on knowledge, on the understanding tools, methodologies, processes, system. It's a system, and this knowledge as well. And I think science builds upon that as well, but it has a place in society that is more, is legitimate. Anyway, I think science and art need to always be reclaiming their space in society through all these fundamental concepts as well. So we cannot forget about them. Intuition, curiosity, and wonder makes art and science.
Well, thank you very much. Just a quick word to our audience. The questions are that have not been answered because we don't have time to go through all the questions. We're going to forward them to Thomas, Monica, and Laura. So you will get a chance. We will try to get a chance to answer to everything. And I will wrap up this conversation, inviting you once again to go and visit the exhibition Cosmos at Grand-Hornu in Belgium until 27th of February. And if you can't travel to Belgium, like is the case in the case of this context, well, you go and check out all the available material on the Site Grand-Hornu website. You will find a catalog in 2 languages, which is chic. And there are plenty also of other inspiring and interesting resources available there. Thank you very much, Monica, Laura, and Thomas. It's been a delight to share this hour and a half with you. Thanks to everyone who followed us and asked questions and interacted or just listened. And well, we hope to see you in real life soon in a world COVID-free and where this kind of exchanges can happen live again. Thank you all. Have a good evening and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.